Our newest battle item has hit Pokemon Unite. It is the Shedinja Doll. Shedinja Doll. Shedinja Doll. It's hard for me to say for some reason. And this item has a lot of really exciting uses. In general, I think this will be a very specific item that does some really cool things. Inside this video right here, I'm going to show you everything that this item can do, and then I'm also going to leave some stuff out. There are so many cool interactions with this item that I simply can't get to all of them, but I'm going to show you a ton of really interesting interactions, some that I think are borderline necessary. So I think there are going to be Pokemon that definitely will run this item because how a few of these things work. Then there are others that are just weird, very specific, and really, really fun. A lot of these I got from Music Comet in my Discord. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for putting a huge list of this together. And then there are others that I was just testing while this was going. Again, there are a lot of really exciting interactions. Some I think are straight up kind of broken, and others are just, I don't know. We'll see. I could really see some players use it. Now let me give you a few of the basics right away. Shedinja Doll is an item that allows you to, for a moment, just negate any damage that comes to you. You also cannot act during this. While this is happening, you are able to have your cooldowns for your moves continue to tick. There are certain healing moves that will continue to heal. There are a lot of really interesting interactions that happen while this item is used. I think this item is going to see more play competitively than it will in solo, duo, trio, just because you can more easily set up situations where you are protected, you're baiting out Unite moves from your opponent, which will be huge, by the way. This move is going to be massive for baiting Unite moves from your opponent. I mean, imagine that you run this item, you know the enemy has a Machamp or something like that. The second you see it wandering around looking for its big moment to jump in, Shedinja Doll. All of a sudden, it misses any damage with that Unite move. Or Cinderace, a Unite move that is extremely telegraphed. All of a sudden, the second you see it thrown, you have a perfect counter to it right away. Boom, no damage is taken. So come along with me, friends, as I show you a ton of very cool interactions for this item. Any ones that you think are amazing that I have left out, please let me know in the comments. Pikachu has one of the best Shedinja Doll interactions, which is you can use Pikachu's Unite move. Obviously, you can normally move around with this Unite, chase enemies down. You can use it and then use your moves in tandem. Something you can do now is use your Unite move and then become invulnerable throughout it with Shedinja Doll. This is a pretty huge combination for Pikachu. I don't know if it's going to be more advantageous than having an eject button to chase enemies even better, but this could set up some scenarios where you move in for a big fight, you jump in with your Volt Tackle, you throw your Unite move, and then the second they want to do something about it, you use your Shedinja Doll. This is a pretty huge combo, I think, on Pikachu. Gardevoir has a pretty cool interaction, which is Psyshock and Moonblast both have the ability to be cast, and then you can use your Shedinja Doll. The interesting thing about this, however, is Psyshock is often moved when you are in combat and you're able to sort of dance around your opponents, continuing to chase them with it or continuing to peel away. So this might not have as much application as you would like, but you can cast Moonblast and immediately go into Shedinja Doll. Same thing with Psyshock, and you're able to get the full use of that move. Psychic and Future Sight kind of have the same situation where you cast it and it throws immediately, essentially, and Future Sight you cast and then you can go right into a Shedinja Doll, but it doesn't seem to have the lingering effect that you would be surprised by, like with Psyshock. Zeraora's Discharge is one of the biggest winners of the Shedinja Doll. You can literally jump in with Volt Switch, use your Discharge, and then Shedinja Doll, and you will be doing a ton of damage. Zeraora is also getting a buff soon, so get ready for this Pokemon to be meta in a big way. I really think this is going to be huge for Zeraora. Glaceon's Icicle Spear is set up perfectly for this item. You can use your Icicle Spear, and then of course, when it's firing, you will be able to simply cover up and hide in your Shedinja Doll, and all of those spears will still fire. I don't know if this combo will be used that much because you want to go right back into Ice Shard, but you could use it right once you start firing, then straight into Ice Shard and start attacking again. I mean, it does work. So yeah, you're invulnerable. Clefable is a huge one for this item. Obviously, Moonlight will heal you when you're taking damage. It'll heal allies in a big area around you. But what you can do with this move now is you can go into a Shedinja Doll, not take damage, or you can first use Moonlight, then go into a Shedinja Doll, healing you and everyone around you. This is massive. So inside of this moment right here, I am going to Moonlight Shedinja Doll, and I am going to heal that entire time while I am not taking damage. It's, yeah, one of the biggest, I think, wins of this item is definitely Clefable, or one of the biggest wins for this item. I should also note that the Unite move has some pretty interesting interactions right here. You can put up block, and your block will stay there. Now, obviously, you can't move with it like you would want to. You can use Hydro Pump, and then as long as you cast it, you could throw Shedinja Doll. There are a few that actually work this way. Close Combat does not. This will stop your close combat, but there are a couple that work in some interesting ways. One that does not is Explosion. If you get Explosion, you will actually cancel the explosion, but you'll just cancel it completely. You won't get any cool effect from it. I don't know if we're gonna see it right now. Fly gets canceled completely, which is, you know, a bit of a bummer. Hyper Beam kind of gets canceled, but if you are able to cast it, then it kind of doesn't. It's a weird one, and we'll see if we can get an explosion here. There's the explosion. I use Shedinja Doll. Nothing happens, which is a little bit of a bummer. If that were to cast still and you would just become invulnerable, that would be so cool. Like, nuts. Wigglytuff is very similar to Zeraora in that you could start Sing and then you could Shedinja Doll and you would be able to keep the effect of it. It's a little tough because with Sing, you're often chasing your opponents down, right? But you could set up some moments like this where you're able to put them to sleep. You also can use the effect similarly with Dazzling Gleam as soon as it's cast. It does have sort of 2 hits. The interesting thing about Dazzling Gleam is it's kind of something that you actually place on the ground and then do damage. You'll kind of see how that works. You're sort of setting up this area effect already, so that's why this item works in this way. You've already set the effect, so then it ends up doing the damage. Alola Ninetales has multiple moves that sort of cast and then let you do something, so you can cast a move and then hit Shedinja Doll. For instance, Aurora Veil, you can't cast it, but of course as soon as you land, that veil is up. Dazzling Gleam works essentially the same way. As soon as you throw Dazzling Gleam, you can go right into Shedinja Doll. You can do the same with your Unite move, interestingly enough. So the second you cast it, you can head right into Shedinja Doll and the damage will pop. Blizzard Avalanche essentially work the same way. It's just a move that you cast and then right into the Shedinja Doll. So the second you cast this move, it goes out instantly. So you could use this in combination with that. You know, if you're being chased down by an enemy, they're running at you right here, you throw this right into a wall, and then all of a sudden they're sitting in this ice and you are invulnerable for a moment. I don't know if this would really take away from the fact that eject button is so good, especially with positioning your Unite move. You know, you can jump in essentially and get big damage, but it does lead to some pretty interesting combinations. Snorlax's Unite into Shedinja Doll. You will continue to heal throughout Snorlax's Unite. That's really interesting. So you can use this item, jump in, you could of course block. You can block and your block is gone, but if you take a ton of damage as Snorlax, you recover a ton with your Unite move. And I didn't know how well this would work, but you are now going to be able to Unite as Snorlax, and then at the same time, take no damage while you recover here with this Shedinja Doll active. That's pretty interesting. It works just like Moonlight for Clefable. Otherwise, you would still, now, obviously it's just Pikachu right here, so he's not outputting a ton of damage, but otherwise you would still take damage while you're recovering. This will be able to set up moments where that does not happen. That could be a great item on this Pokemon. I guess you can't roll over until you're out of it, but you'll still be able to get it when you're out of it. I don't know, that's pretty sweet. Oh, here was something I just noticed as I was testing it. Check this out, this is kind of interesting. So when you use your Unite move with Snorlax, there's a moment where you can use Shedinja Doll, but here you cannot. So essentially, once they give you the ability to flip over, you can no longer use Shedinja Doll. You have to use it early inside of your Unite move, which I did not realize. All right, cool. Okay, Sylveon actually has a ton of options with this item. So Hyper Voice, if you use it, you could go into your Shedinja Doll. Same thing with Draining Kiss, actually. You could use it and then be inside of your Shedinja Doll. If I turned my cooldowns off, you could actually be able to see that. So you could use it right here. which is pretty cool, but a lot of Sylveon is used with extreme mobility, so it would be weird to use something like Hyper Voice and then stand still here for a moment because your opponents would simply move to the side. Now, Calm Mind is essentially a buff, so there's really not much to say about counting that, but Mystical Fire does work with this move. As you can see, you can jump into a situation, and then whenever you want, have that Shedinja Doll Fire. Essentially, Mystical Fire gives you this buff around you of these flames that hit your opponents, so whenever they're up, you will still be able to hit your opponents, even though you're inside of your Shedinja Doll. This has a weird interaction with your Unite move, where you'll jump into the air, you'll cancel it, but it will still take the amount of time it would have taken to land, essentially, and do the damage. So you can cast it right away into your Shedinja Doll, and then you land and do damage. I don't know if you'd ever really want to do this. It doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense because you're invincible when you're jumping into the air. You only become vulnerable once you land, and then once you land, you recover when you do damage. So it's an interaction that probably won't get much play, but it exists. Dragonite has a few interesting interactions with this item. In fact, one is pretty crazy when you think about it. So you could have a fully charged up Hyper Beam, and essentially the second you decide to cast it, go right into your Shedinja Doll and you will cast it out and hit. That's kind of a wild situation here. Now, obviously, as you're normally charging up in a fight, you usually will be in a position to hit here, but this just sets it up to where you cannot be KO'd while you are casting Hyper Beam, which is pretty legit. And you can also use this with your Unite move in a weird way. So you could jump in with your Unite move. Now, if you use Shedinja Doll right away, you actually just don't jump at all. So that would be, you know, weird. But if you cast and then let it get to the point where you would be landing, you end up doing no damage. The other option is casting and then letting the damage start to rain, and then the second it rains, cast your Shedinja Doll. This could avoid situations where you would be KO'd by your opponents, but I think realistically, you probably wouldn't know to throw it instantly. The more interesting interaction for sure is Hyper Beam not being cancelable. Mr. Mime has multiple interactions with this item. Power Swap, while activated, will continue to do damage and continue to heal. You can use Shedinja Doll during this. You could also cast Psychic and then use your Shedinja Doll, continuing to do damage. You could also use your Unite move. So you could jump in with your Unite move, do damage, and then partway through, use your Shedinja Doll, and you are still dealing damage and still stunning enemies with Mr. Mime. So some pretty interesting interactions for sure with Mr. Mime and this item. I think a lot of situations that you'll find this item very useful in will be situations where you're diving in, fighting the enemy, and then for a moment you see a huge burst of damage coming, or you're waiting for a move to come off cooldown, and you can set up a moment where you're fighting, head into your Shedinja Doll, then come back so you can chase, or come back so that you can fight. And I think that will be probably one of the biggest ways this item is very, very useful. There are going to be some other Pokemon that take great advantage of this, and of course the outplay potential for this item is huge because you can see a move from your opponent and you can take advantage of it using this item. You could see a Unite move from, say, Pikachu, and you can take advantage of the fact that they can't hit you with that Unite move while you're in Shedinja Doll, or a variety of other situations that could come up while they're trying to hit you. You move into this, right back into fighting. You can't get hit through most of Pikachu's Unite right there. I think these are going to be most of the situations that you see Shedinja Doll used for. There you go. So many amazing things this item can do, and there are a bunch that I didn't get to show you. Mew's Unite move and boosted attack, Venusaur's Petal Dance, and Giga Drain will continue once you have used Shedinja Doll. Eldegoss's Cotton Spore. I mean, there are just tons and tons of great interactions. Again, if you think there are big ones that I missed, please let me know in the comments because I would love to check them out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love you very much. I'll see y'all next time. We did it.